Hello, this is Sebastian, aka X for PokerVIP.com, and today I'm going to record a two-part video series on the new site or the new layout of HighStakes Poker, which I have in the past already recorded a video series on, but they've changed a few things up, and yeah, without further ado, let's jump into the action. This video will, as usually, be focused on like strat talk, trying to show you how to maximally exploit the player pool, like show you a few hotspots where we can like be really aggressive or where we have to be really nitty. Basically, we're gonna just see where this leads us to and hope we get into a lot of interesting spots. So yeah, let's hope that happens. So as you can see, I'm the player here, Elrond, and so far definitely you can definitely see a few recreationals already at the tables. Like this little symbol right here basically tells you that they are playing from a smartphone, which they used to have that on PokerStars as well, but removed it at some point. It's definitely a pretty useful thing to know, because generally this like short stacker, this limper from like a smartphone is definitely going to be a recreational. And yeah, pretty useful tool to have to basically spot your spots. That's a funny wording. Spot the spots. Yeah, to spot the weaker players basically. So far not a lot to say. The ace-6 we're gonna definitely fold here. Some players might defend this because it's an ace. The hand will tragically underperform. Versus a 3x cutoff open in itself, it's already like a really clear fold. And it really doesn't fare well in a multi-way nature. Especially being out of position to the razor. The worst ace-6 offsuited I would continue there was a cutoff 3x is probably ace-10 off. Yeah. Picking up pretty reasonable hand here with the ace-10 suited. This guy already just squeezed. Okay. Definitely an open. The king-7 versus 1 limper. I would definitely isolate this versus 2 limpers. I'm just gonna fold it, even though like isolating wouldn't be the worst. I feel like both of them are gonna call quite often. My hand is not gonna fare well that good in that scenario. And yeah. You have the ace-10, we have several options. We can see with a third. We can potentially check raise, even though that's granted that's pretty loose. Generally, once I check, I would go for the check call. He sizes up pretty dramatically though. I think, or I know from mass database analysis that if he sizes up this much on the flop and basically bets pot, he is gonna follow the turn at a really high frequency. And my hand is not gonna do that well on turns. Sure, there are some turns where I pick up like a flush draw, of course, right on the 8 of diamonds or something. But even then, he's probably gonna bet pretty big again, and even then it's not the best spot, so just gonna fold now. We're mixing up a few things like experience, mass database analysis. We know he's gonna follow up the turn quite a bit. And also, I mean, our hand is just not the best with just FAs either. With the 9s, we're gonna just see with the third. He's gonna, he's a pretty big fish, he's gonna defend the preflop really loosely, like probably gonna, I don't know, have like 70% VPIP or something like that. So pocket 9s is, even on this spot, still doing pretty well. Definitely gets a lot out of protection, and yeah, it just plays more smooth if you bet a third, because now we can check back turn, and can, well, on the river, I guess we're gonna check back. It's kind of tempting to bet, but it's just too thin. So we already can conclude a bit that he seems like a bit of a passive recreational, like in terms of post flop, because not bluffing that jack 9 there on the river seems like, I mean, it's obviously a really passive option there. Seems like a kind of straightforward bluff regardless. Basically, yeah, just like a, how to put it, like he's gonna play really wide BPIP and PFRs. But it's probably not gonna go that crazy post with bluffing, but probably it's gonna go really crazy with like calling and floating. So just to keep that in mind. Obviously we only have that one hand, so it's not like we really know it, but we saw a tendency there. It was a pretty big not bluff there. So definitely keeping that in mind. 8-9 of clubs, definitely an open. I mean, definitely a bit of an overstatement. It's not going to be the greatest open from UTG with the 8-9 suited, but I'm gonna basically open it every time. But you can make a case for folding some of the weaker suited connectors, like 7-6 and lower from UTG. And opening 7-6 from UTG is also going to be just fine. But yeah. Well, with this weaker player in the mix, having Jack-10 off, gonna jump in, see a flop. It's not the greatest defense here of all time, but definitely having a weaker player in the pot helps quite massively. Pot size lead here, easy fold of course, so basically nothing. Right here I feel like we do pretty well stemming turn once both of them check back flop, and we're gonna definitely use this as a multi-barrel. Because he will definitely call turn pretty wide once again. He has a lot of better just one spade hands, again like ace jack with like the ace of spades. So on the river we're gonna size up a bit because we kind of do want him to fold in like pocket 5-6s, which I'm not 100% sure he will fold, but I'm gonna definitely put him to the test. Try to get him off those. Definitely want to also get him off like hand like king jack with the king of spades, which with those I wouldn't need to bet that big. But also he can have like pocket 5s as said, like hand like ace-3 would make a lot of sense, like just some low pair. And I think we can definitely apply some pressure there, even though he is probably a pretty cally fish. You can still bluff them. It's not like you can never bluff the fish. You just have to pick the spots a bit more carefully. Yeah. And it always helps in those spots that basically his like get to river range is really wide. Because he just has so many natural folds there. He has so many like high cuts that just probably will never call you. So pretty good spot there. It's also pretty important that we like on the turn already basically think about our river strategy there. Basically recognize on the turn that if he calls turn, he's still gonna be pretty wide on a river, and already have the plan like laid out that we're gonna bluff on a lot of rivers. So yeah. And in general, like on the turn, we already have a pretty huge hotspot that once both check back, they're gonna be pretty capped there, and we can definitely just step any sort of reasonable step there, which we had a pretty reasonable candidate to step, of course, having a pretty high spade and some potential live cards. This video will, as always, be around 30 minutes long, which I guess if you watch it, you will probably already have seen that it's going to be 30 minutes long. Yeah. As always, if you have any questions or anything, always put them into the comments. I try to answer every question you post in the comments. Queen 4 could open, would be a pretty loose open. I think given the nature of the weaker guy behind and so on, and so far not having faced a lot of 3-bets, I'm gonna make this pretty loose open here from the cutoff. Generally gonna tend to have pretty wide RFI ranges, especially in later positions. Don't really see betting a third here. Ace-high texture, having some backdoors, having some equity, can barrel some turns. Here on the turn, I'm just going to check back. Generally not a great turn. We can definitely still win the cent on the river by bluffing. That being said, he's going to have a lot of ace-highs. And we just don't really have equity. Just going to check back. And on this river, once he checks, I will bluff this. I will overbet this, just because I do think he has a pretty wide get to river range still. So like at least we have 9x, some like pocket 7s, which will always fold. But I also do think that if we overbet, we can definitely force him off an ace high. Not an ace high, but just an ace, like an ace-5 diamonds type of hand. It virtually doesn't matter that we're not really going to be balanced there, and that we're not really going to, wrap a lot. I mean, we can have some flushes, of course, like we can have like king 10 of clubs. But it doesn't matter as much. It more so matters that his get to river range is just going to be pretty wide. We definitely want to apply pressure there, especially after. So pretty big data point there is that he snap checked, right? Just to dissect the situation a bit more. So he snap checked. Just think about it logically. Is he ever going to snap check a flush? It's highly, highly, highly unlikely. So we can basically deduce that he more than likely doesn't have a flush there. So we kind of can already, just by like the snap check, cap his range. Then also his like get to river range, given we bet so small on the flop, is gonna be pretty wide, so he's gonna have a lot of like really weak hands, which will always fold, or close to always. And then also, if he does start to fold a hand like ace-10 or ace-jack on river to the overbet, it gets to be such an immensely profitable spot that you just kind of have to go for it. And I do think it was the case there. I also do think this guy is somewhat of a rag, which will higher the chance of it working on average there. Here this guy limps, min leads, flop, min bets again. Just gonna call, see what the river brings. Pretty good river overall. If he min bets again or bets small, it's obviously volatile. We have a volatile profile, so we know he's like a fish already. So we also know that this river sizing by volatile profiles or by fish in general is generally overbluffed because we don't have to be good that often. And we have a pretty reasonable pair. I'm just gonna call down. I'm actually pretty happy about the situation. I think Sandler is gonna be beat more often than not, but it's really important to realize that it's okay to be beat there most of the time, because you only have to be good. I don't know what odds exactly there were again, but like 20% of the time or something. Like he could be merging a worse hand, like he could be merging an ace-3, a 4-5. He could just be bluffing, trying to buy it for a cheap price. Here facing a 3-bet blind, we buy an easy continue. Not the best flop, not the worst one, pretty reasonable one. Let's see what he does. If he just pots it, just bets a generic half pot sizing. Can't read too much into it. Just have a call with our hands. Pretty much not exciting turn. If he keeps on betting, first feeling wise, yeah, the half pot bets. He 3-bets. Yeah, I'm gonna generally go on a limb and say he's probably gonna underbluff here. I'm gonna definitely continue with my top pairs. But with the second pair, weak kicker, no real redraw on beat, I'm just gonna fold. And then continue like the top pairs. Or hand like 7x of hearts. Hand like ace-10 of hearts, ace-queen of hearts. I would rather continue those than the jack-10 there. With the king-8 here, I will 3-bet and isolate this fish versus min-raise. I think he's gonna min-raise the cutoff really wide here. I think this will generate some sort of fold equity. And generally, I just want to isolate the fish for the most part. Calls, we flop top pair. Pretty good situation. Probably gonna see better generic half pot sizing. You will have plenty of gut shots, some flush draws, generally a lot of like queen X. So a lot of value to be gained, decent bit of protection to be gained there. Yeah, Jack-10 there was a bit of a sad one, but it's fine. We generally know from mass database analysis in that situation that like triple or double barrel there from a rack will be relatively balanced. And I'm not sure if that generally would mean that I should call the half pot. It's probably basically a pretty much 0 EV spot whether you call the second pair there or not. And given I don't have insanely high confidence there, and I also don't have insanely high confidence about his player profile this far, he did seem like a bit of a weaker passive reg over the really tiny sample I have so far. I'm going to basically err on the side of caution instead of making some crazy like bluff catches. But yeah, pretty big pot here. Shows up with a flush, fair enough. Now we have his hand. See if we can also make a flush. Also picking up a reasonable hand on the left. 2 reasonable hands. defending on the left, defending on the right. Given both of them are short stack, I would never 3-bet this type of hand. Well, I'm not going to defend now, and I get a block on the right, so not a whole lot to do there. Let's check the stack up. He's 30 BBs short. He's 40 BBs short. Pocket 7 falls in a bit of a weird category. I think there's the button. I definitely have 3-bet get it in, and this cut of it gets more close. So far this player has shown a decent bit of resistance here on the left hand table, so I will fold the king 6 off. If you would strike me as a bit of a passive player, I would open the king 6 off here blind blind. And probably open any king. Oh, I mean, we have an open in front, so it doesn't matter. 7 is obviously easy open, kind of obvious defend versus 3-bet. See what happens. I'm gonna note that he sizes a bit more than 3x, which seems a bit weird because most racks would just 3x it there. Not the worst flop, not the best flop. If he doesn't pot it, I'm probably gonna call a street. I mean, I'm gonna call a street. If he pots it, I would not. Easy call now. Can always improve to a 7, can always have the best hand. Pretty straightforward check fold on the turn. He's probably gonna half pot again. He checks, king, extremely terrible river, improves a lot of his range. Probably gonna just lose this one, but that's fine. I have some showdown value. He's not gonna turn a hand like ace high into a bluff for the most part now. He has hand like ace 5 suited, also gonna win. Check raise bluffing, not necessarily in love with it, given he can quite easily have a reasonable hand, which, I mean, I could try to get him off hand like ace king, but generally trying to attack top pair, top kicker. Don't have enough confidence that it's going to work enough of the time there. You also can have a decent bit of better hands as well. The deuces, I can overlimp, I can isolate, both are reasonable. I think I'm going to opt to overlimp given a stack there. If I isolate any chords, it's going to be kind of awkward post, and I don't mind overlimping exploitatively versus a weak player. That's not the flop we were looking for. So as you can see quite clearly here, we're definitely mixing a lot of, like, in certain situations we're going to be pretty cautious, pretty nitty. But in some other situations, like the queen 4 of hearts, we're just going to be really ballsy and aggressive. It just always depends on the situation. You've probably heard this before, the good old catchphrase, it depends. You just have to have a good understanding of when to apply what. Easy fold with the 10-3, easy fold with the queen deuce, both not really playable. Waiting for a spot, waiting for a hand. Min raise, weaker player, will defend really widely, blind for blind being in position, given it's a min raise, given it's a weaker player, getting insane odds. He checks. We can do a few things. I feel like he doesn't have me beat that often. I feel like I get a lot out of protection. I feel like his range for min raising blind for blind is insanely wide. So I'm gonna stab here once. Just take it down, that's fine. Generally my pair is gonna be in pretty good shape, especially after he kind of defines his range by checking. Again, would open versus some players with the king deuce. Not versus him so far. The ace deuce will be an open, but this guy's probably gonna limp or do something funky like min raising. He limps. Ace deuce, not gonna isolate here out of position. Just not really playable, nor really strong enough of a hand. 10-3. Suited. Again, not really playable, sadly. Jack 8 off. We might get to see a flop. the 3x, but people generally 3x because of how the, yeah, I'm not going to defend here multi-way. Once again, this hand loses in a multi-way formation, like the value of that loses in multi-way formation. And I think even heads up, I might have folded versus the 3x. That being said, you shouldn't interpret a lot into 3x here on this side, because the standard open will be 3x given how the buttons pre-flop are set up. Finally picking up a glorious hand. Don't give me the walk treatment, please. Well, ask for it and you shall receive. Getting a walk. Not the greatest. The 9-4, again, pretty close. I would definitely open 9-5 suited. 9-4, I'm gonna ditch. Well, pretty great hand here. Getting another walk. 10-9 off. This hand might see a flop. Will I get another walk? Okay, well, he opens. Pretty easy defend. Calling a flop bet. Hopefully he doesn't size up. He checks. I'm gonna check back. I'm gonna call a turn bet. Or probably bet the turn ourselves once he checks. He does check. I'm going to bet a third. Protect my equity, get some value. Kind of buy a cheap showdown as well. I think behind is good for the most part there, as played. And I definitely gain from protection and can definitely get some value. King 5 will be an open. Queen 5 a fold. King 7 off, I will open. Also the players have been kind of passive this far on the right hand table. Heads up, I would definitely see with the third. Multi-weight gets a bit weirder. That being said, I think I will start with a 1/3 c-bet. There are definitely some turns I want to see. I don't necessarily want to check call though. That's a really less than average turn. Really reduces my fold equity. Don't pick up any additional equity. Just going to check fold. Potentially reopen the action on some rivers. On this river in particular, I feel like he's going to be really cally here. I don't feel like the bluff success rate here is going to be amazing. Just going to generic half pot on the right. So I'm just going to check fold the king 5. Having some tiny bit of showdown value. Obviously not expecting to win more than like 3% here. Kind of bizarre that he reopens now on the 6. Could be pocket 6s, but a bit of a bizarre line, but definitely not in the bluff catching mode there. 6-5 versus 3x here. Close, but I will defend it. Could definitely make an argument to fold the 6-5 here. Ace King, very beautiful hand. Going to open. Sadly get a walk. Queen 9, not really playable. Pocket 9s. Having 2 posts in front of me definitely will pump the action up here. If he raises, I might just jam. He's only 20 BBs deep. This guy's also really short. Definitely will 3-bet if he raises the post, because he also posted. Also going to 3-bet if he does anything. I'm going to pump it up pretty big here. Yeah, going to about $2 here, given the amount of dead money into the pot, given how much protection I kind of need with my hand, and given that I will get some pretty loose action. This look rather big there. Take it down, not the worst with the pocket 9s. Generally tables are looking pretty decent. I mean, a lot of cell phone players this far. A lot of posts, a lot of weird things. Oh, seems pretty good. Here, yeah, I mean, this is a generic half pot, like 1 BB step. I might check raise and try to bluff here, but given he nearly pots it, I'm gonna just fold the jack 8 there. 10-7, pretty close. Would open 10-8, 10-7 right on the border if folded to me. Kind of going a bit away from my read that he's more of an aggro player, because so far he has been pretty passive for the past few hands. Can we overlimp here? Yeah, we definitely can. Surrounded by cell phone players. And one probable wreck, this Boros guy. Well, it's a pretty big isolate. But fair enough. The king queen, playable hand. If he opens, I'm gonna 3-bet. If he folds, I'm gonna open. All in all, pretty straightforward. 10-9, also pretty playable hand. Probably gonna end up 3-betting. King queen, trying to flop a top pair. See what he does after isolating those big last turns. See if he keeps on like just opening large. Nope, he folds. 10-9, gonna open, gonna call a 3-bet of course. Well, that's I would say a pretty good flop on the right. Also really dynamic, gonna get a lot of action, even get a lead, it's pretty dope. If he calls, I'm definitely gonna raise. If he just folds, I'm going to call, let the guy behind come along as wide as possible. Also keep this guy's range as wide as possible. Given SPR on the turn, if I just call, I'm gonna stack him most of the time. And I'm not too worried about anything bad happening for the most part. The 10-9, pretty generic half pot here versus a small blind range, versus BB range might want a 1/3. Turn, pretty irrelevant. That being said, I don't have the greatest kicker. I might bet a bit of a better 10 here, but for the most part, going to check this back. He jams, we call. Ends up having the top 2. We hold, great. And on the left hand, not too sure what to make of his sizing. He bets a 1/3. I know that generally volatile profiles are overbluffing a 1/3 sizing in most situations. I have a pretty decent hand to just call. He can have clubs, he can have weird hands, can merge the same hands, can do a lot of things. Let's call. Just has a better 10, makes a lot of sense. His river sizing was pretty good. Credit to him, played his hand fine besides the preflop call, which is pretty atrocious. But on the river, as you see, he's definitely merging some 10x. Does he also merge a 10-8 suited or a 10-9? Probably, who knows. He can have bluffs. Could do some weird things as well. Could have floated pretty wide on the flop and then just do a weird thing on the river. We got pretty good odds. Just gonna call our reasonable bluff catcher there. 3-4 suited, pretty close versus a 3x, given the guy's a recreational or weaker player. I will defend. I think maybe post up is gonna be pretty high. Half board, I have pretty weak gut shots. Yeah, I'm just gonna ditch this. If the board was rainbow, I would check raise. If I had a backdoor flush draw, I might check raise or check call. If I had a nut gut shot, I would check call or check raise. Given I have the dirty bottom gut shot with tainted outs and so on, I'm just gonna drop it. Obviously my payouts are really bad. I don't have any high cut strength, so no showdown value there for 3-4. Just gonna ditch it. The 8-7 here, I will go ahead and 3-bet. Gonna size down one big blind, given he's a bit shorter. Calls. Flop extremely bad. We have really bad blockers. He has a lot of calls on this board. I don't have any sort of equity. If he has a hand of like pocket deuces, I could take it down on a later street. So I'm gonna just check now. I turn a gut shot. It's a pretty dirty one. Again, I will just check and then I will reopen action on river. If he has hand like deuces or threes, he's probably gonna check back. Even at like queen jack might. And we might realize our gut shot for free. Bets, we have an easy fold. About to reach the 30-minute mark. Gonna click sit out next big blind. Sit out next BB. Which is next hand here and a few hands here. So we definitely got into a couple of interesting spots. Hope I could explain a few things to you. Hope you picked up a few things. Hope you learned a bit of stuff. a few things. If you have any sort of questions, if you want to like ask why I did or didn't do something, or want to ask like to explain some explanation I gave in more detail, go ahead, write it into the comments. Pocket sevens, go on, have a last hand here. Or if you just have a general question, just go ahead, write it into the comments, ask. I will more than likely reply and would be more than happy to help. Furthermore, there will be a second part of this video. It will be played in PLO though, so if you're interested in that, make sure to check that out. If you like my way of explaining things, make sure to hit me up via a personal message. Basically, if you're like interested in some sort of like coaching, hit me up via personal message. Maybe we can get into touch. Maybe we can get into touch. In touch. Maybe we can get in touch. That's the correct phrasing. Maybe we can get in touch. Okay, cool. So see you next time. Bye bye.